Hello friends, I welcome you all to this online session of a BA Part 3 Compulsory English. In the last few sessions, we were discussing module number 1 Part A, that is interview skills. And in the last few sessions, we discussed few winning strategies and few do's and don'ts at the time of interviews. In the last session, we also discussed about the types of questions. And in today's session, let us continue with qualities of a good candidate. In fact, we have also covered this point in third session on the same topic, but it was just a passing reference of the qualities of good candidate where I only enlisted certain qualities of a good candidate. In this session, let us continue with the same sub point, that is qualities of a good candidate, and let us try to understand what are the good qualities that we should exhibit at the time of interview. So see the personal qualities. The first and most important quality of a good candidate is a manners. You should exhibit good manners at the time of interview. You see, uh, I told you when we were discussing good qualities in my third session that interview is not just a evaluation, is an evaluation or just an examination of your subject knowledge, but it is in fact evaluation. It is in fact examination of your personality. The panelists, they were there to judge your personality. They want to try what kind of person you are, what kind of character you have. So this is what they try to judge. And in the last session when we discuss about the types of question, we also came across the questions that were directed or that were motivated to know these qualities. So the first and most important quality that every candidate should have is a manners. And manners are observed especially on the occasion of you seek permission, enter the interview room or sit down. You can see that this is a very simple kind of act or simple behavior at the time of interview. But you can see that this simple act of asking permission, coming in, how you walk, how you sit, how you see, how you wish to the panelist, how your face, whether your face is smiling or not, whether you are panic or comfortable, all these things matters much when this panelist observe you. So manners are observed especially on the occasion of you seek permission, enter the interview room or sit down. Many times it happens with us. We get nervous at the time of interview, and instead of asking permission, we directly go into the interview hall and sit without asking any permission. So this exhibit that you are not confident, you are nervous, and that's why you are doing such a kind of thing. So or many times your voice when you ask a permission is a kind of shaky kind of voice you produce, and this shaky voice also represent that you are not confident enough to face an interview. So many times you do what you do, instead of sitting on the chair, uh, you drag the chair in front of them and then sit down. So don't do all these things. You should ask permission to come in the hall. You should wish all the panelists, all the interviewers, and then ask them permission to sit down. And when they ask you to sit down, you should say thank you to them. So all these things are manners. So even your dress, your smile, your behavior at the time of interview, after interview, in between interview, and before interview, all these things also matters much in a job interview. The interviewers observe how you wish when you first meet them and how you address them in the course of a dialogue. This is also very important. How you address them, how you speak with them, how you wish them, how you look into their eyes, whether you stare at them or whether you are looking uh, uh, respectfully in their eyes. So all these things matters so much in at the time of interview. They also keenly observe whether you use expressions such as please, thank you, I beg your pardon, kindly, and excuse me. Because all these things, those seems very simple, reflect your personality. Whether you are arrogant or whether you understand how to respect others. So this or your generous personality can be exhibited with the help of all such a kind of expressions. So we should use please, can you please see my documents, or thank you. When they ask you to sit down, you should say thank you. Or when they compliment you, so you gave a good answer, so you should say thank you to them. I beg your pardon. When you fail to listen exact question or the voice of the interviewer, you should say, I beg your pardon, sir. Can I listen the question once again? So this is what the manners and etiquettes we should follow at the time of interview. Then you may use these expressions regularly. They reflect your positive and get you lot of mileage. Of course, yes. And this is, as I told you, all these personality, personal qualities. It is not necessary that you should exhibit all these at only at the time of interview. You should accept it as your regular expressions, and you should use it in your day-to-day life. That will show your positive personality, your positive attitude towards them. Along with these uh, expressions that exhibit your manners and etiquette, there are certain things that you should avoid when you are speaking with the interviewers. So what are they? Avoid humming or using fillers. Many times we use or we use so don't do that. Many times we try to understand or we get when we were humming, what we do exactly, we exactly take a time to think. So think minutely, mutely, and then try to answer it. And again, you should not use the expressions like, well, I mean, what I mean is. So they are were not there. Interviewers were not there to understand you, your arguments. They were there to understand you. So instead of using all these things, what I mean is, they are well enough or they are well educated enough that they can get your meaning. So don't go uh, over smart and tell them what I mean is, it means all the interviewers, they are less educated than you, and they don't know what you try to tell them. So avoid such a kind of expressions. What I mean is, as a matter of fact, or that is to say, to be honest. What is the meaning of to be honest? To be honest, the meaning is that whatever you speak in the interview, this is the only point where you are speaking honestly. Otherwise all other things that you have claimed in the interview are not honest. So avoid such a kind of, quite frankly. See, this is a very official kind of event. So don't be frank there. Okay. Be comfortable, but don't be frank. So quite frankly, this is not a good expression at all at the time of interview. Or in other words, don't be phony. Don't use extra word. Be abridged in your answers. And when you become an abridged, pointed, logical in your answers, then your interview will be impressive one or impactful. So this is what you should avoid at the time of interview. Then see, these are essential qualities that you should exhibit at the time of interview. What are they? See, and what the interviewers observe when they were judging your personality. They judge your mental alertness. They judge your critical power of assimilation. They judge balance of judgment. They judge clear and logical exposition. They judge variety and depth of interest. They judge leadership qualities. They judge intellectual and moral integrity. They judge persistency in adverse conditions. And all these things you should keep in mind when you are facing an interview. So, the question, maybe the open question, maybe the closed question, maybe the analytical question that they were asking you, the motive behind such a kind of questions are to understand all these parameters, what kind of whether you are mentally alert or not, all these critical power, how is your critical power, can you critically analyze the situation or problems, they, or whether you are have a balanced judgment or not, whether you are prejudiced or not. So such a kind of things they understand when they ask you a question. So this is not only a matter of your subject knowledge, but this is a matter of your personality. And to cultivate all these things, to mental alertness, critical power of assimilation, balance of judgment, clear and logical exposition, all these things you can cultivate, all these qualities within you. You must read newspaper regularly to boost your general knowledge. This is a very important thing for the students. What we do, we generally only read the textbooks, or many times we also don't read the textbooks, we generally read the super guides, and especially in English case we only read the Marathi translation of English text, Marathi translation of in a English guide. So you should not do that. You should try to read newspaper. I am not telling you that you should read newspaper in a English language. If you read English newspaper, you are welcome, because you are also you will understand not only a general knowledge, but you will also get exposed to a language English. At least you should start with a newspaper in Marathi language, or newspaper in any vernacular language, that you can read it, and you will boost your general knowledge, and that general knowledge will be very helpful to you in your interview. So these are the some essential qualities. So see, mental alertness is also very important part. In fact, when we think about mental alertness, you should be uh, very alert at the time of interview. As I told you in the manners and etiquettes, that when you sit on a chair, you should not loll at the back, or you should not sit in a relaxed manner. You should sit very alertly, and you should listen the question carefully. uh, it is also one of the very important characteristic of a good candidate, that he is a good listener. So you should listen the question carefully and then try to answer it. Don't be over smart that immediately after he finished or the interviewer finish his answer question, you start giving your answer. So don't do that. Don't be so fast. Be calm, be quiet, listen carefully, think over it, and then try to answer it. Many times it happens with us. We listen half of the question and start giving the answer. Don't cook answer that early. Take your time, think about it, think in a logical and scientific manner, and then try to answer it. So see, there is a very interesting question here uh, asked in the interview to judge the mental alertness of the candidate. See, what is it? The question is, 20 years back, there was a plane which crashed from nearly 20,000 feet over Germany. It is important to remember that Germany at that period was part, uh, partitioned as East Germany and West Germany. In that incident, where would you bury the survivors? In East Germany, West Germany, or no man's land? So, see, this is a tricky question. Who buries survivors? जे वाचलेले लोक आहेत त्यांना कोण बरी करेल किंवा कोण पुरेल? त्यांना हॉस्पिटलमध्ये नेलं पाहिजे ना. So the simple answer of this question is, sir, survivor aren't buried. So see, this is a tricky question that many times without understanding the question we give the answer no man's land, because there are uh, multiple choice uh, are given to you and you choose one of them: East Germany, West Germany, or no man's land. And there is a basic tendency of students that they generally choose the last option. Even if you try this on a small children at your home, give them a two options, one and two. They will always choose the second one. So this is again a one trick in they use in the interview to judge your mental alertness. The answer reveals the attentiveness and alertness of the candidate while hearing the question and use of the presence of mind to present the answer. Hence, you must include the practice in your daily routine and be alert about your surroundings. So this is very necessary thing, necessary part. We should understand that we should keep ourselves alert. We should train our mind to be alert. You should keen listener of others and then try to answer others. So this is what one of mental alertness is one of the important characteristic of good candidate. Then critical power of assimilation. What is it? See, critical power of assimilation naturally brings out the trait of clear and logical exposition. You can clearly answer only if you know the demand of the question. So if you know exactly what the interviewers want, then only you are able to answer it. There would be a tendency to impress the board with your depth and grasp over the issues. Understand that here you should impress the interviewers, of course, but with your personality, not only with your subject knowledge. Understand that they were there not to judge only your subject knowledge. Subject knowledge is important, but your personality is more important than subject knowledge. So they try to judge your personality. So instead of investing, or you may say wasting time on impressing them by giving a lecture on the topic of your interest, instead of doing that, give abridge your answers and give them chance to ask you different questions. So that is also very important thing at the time of interview. Many times it happens with us when interviewer asks us a question, we go on answering the question, we go on adding different examples to it. Don't add multiple example to prove your claim. Add only one example if it is required. If it is not required, do not use example at all. So you will be abridged one, you will be pointed one, you will be logical one, and they will ask you more questions. And as they ask you more questions, you will get to speak more. But instead of speaking on one topic, you can choose different or variety of topics. So this is what is important. See, avoid this unless the question specifically demand it. So only add the example if it is needed, if it is required to prove your claim. Otherwise, avoid giving examples. You are not teaching them something, you are just expressing, you are just showing your personality, just showing your traits, your qualities to them. So be focused on that only. This interview is not about impressing the board. You should keep in your mind that this interview is not about impressing the board. It is about reflection of your true personality. And when you are honest about your true personality, then only it is possible for you to explore all these things. So while answering, it is important to be a straight to the point. Don't beat around the bush. Be pointed. And when you start beating around the bush, it means you are superficial in your knowledge. It is better to politely say, if you don't know the answer, honestly accept, admit that I don't know the answer. Instead of cook up the answer and try to impress the board. Many times it happens with us, even in the semester examinations. What we do, if we don't know the answer of the question, we write the same question multiple times in the place of a answer. So don't do that at the time of interview. If you don't know the answer, simply admit that I don't know, instead of trying to invent, trying to cook up a answer. So you should not do that. Then clear exposition. So what you are speaking, what is your answer, what is your idea, it should be clearly expressed or described. Or if certain thoughts or an idea requires a clear understanding of not only the demand of a question but also a character that is honest and simple. So this is all is reflected in the thing. Only honesty can bring out clear and logical answer from you. This is a very important thing. All over the interview you should be honest. Instead of cooking up answer, instead of boasting your interest, instead of telling lies, you should be honest one. You should express, you should exhibit your true self to the interviewers and trying to convince them that you are the best candidate for the job. This is what the two qualities we learn in this session. First, sorry, three qualities we learn in this session. First, we learn about the manners, that we should exhibit good manners at the time of interview. We should ask permission to come in. We should ask permission to sit down. We should say thank you when they to ask you to sit down. All these things matters much when the manners are concerned at the time of interview. Second thing, we see the mental alertness. That is what we learn, mental alertness in we also get one example of a question and answer. And then the last point we learn, that is a critical power of assimilation. In that we learn that we should be honest to ourselves and we should be honest at the time of interview. So we will stop here, continue the same in the next session. We were discussing qualities of candidate. We will continue with the same qualities of the candidate in the next session. And next session will be the last session of this module number 1 part A. And then one more session we will conduct, and that will be on summary and exercises that were prescribed to you in the in your textbook. So we will stop here. Thank you for listening.